The fluorescent lights of the supermarket hummed softly, casting a pale glow over the neatly stacked aisles. It was a Tuesday evening, quiet enough that every shuffle of a cart and every beep of a scanner echoed faintly through the store. In aisle 5, among shelves filled with formula cans and diapers, a young mother stood frozen. Her eyes, tired yet determined, scanned the prices of the baby milk. She had been doing the math over and over in her head, the kind of math that didn't just involve numbers but survival. Rent, gas, food, and what was left at the bottom of her worn-out wallet. Her baby, no more than 6 months old, fussed quietly in the cart, reaching up with tiny fingers that seemed to cling to her heart. She had picked up the formula can earlier with hope, clutching it like it was her lifeline. But now, staring at the price tag, the weight of reality pressed down harder. She took a deep breath, swallowed the lump in her throat, and carefully placed the can back on the shelf. Her eyes lingered on it for just a moment before she turned away, pushing her cart down the aisle with the kind of sadness that's hidden from most but impossible to ignore once you see it. Unbeknownst to her, someone had seen it. At the other end of the aisle stood a man in his late 40s, tall, sharp in appearance, his tailored suit making him stand out in the casual environment of the grocery store. His name was Richard, a self-made millionaire who had walked into the store that night simply to grab a bottle of water and a few snacks before heading home. But now his plans paused. He had noticed the woman's hesitation, the way she had clutched the baby milk, and the heartbreak in her eyes when she put it back. Something about the moment struck him. Maybe it was the quiet dignity with which she carried her struggle. Maybe it was the innocence of the baby who had no idea about the battles his mother was fighting. Richard followed her discreetly, his heart tugged in a way he hadn't felt in years. As she made her way to the checkout line, he noticed the small pile of items she had chosen. A loaf of bread, some instant noodles, and a pack of baby wipes. Barely enough to fill a bag, yet it seemed to cost her everything. Her hand trembled slightly as she handed over a few crumpled bills to the cashier. Richard's eyes narrowed, his thoughts racing. He had once known poverty, long before his businesses took off, back when he himself had to count pennies just to survive. Seeing her struggle was like staring into his own past. When she left the store, Richard didn't hesitate. He picked up the can of baby milk she had put back and bought it, along with a few extra essentials. Then, keeping a respectful distance, he followed her out into the cool night air. She was walking toward a small, beaten-down car parked far at the edge of the lot. The car door squeaked as she strapped her baby into the back seat, her movements careful but weary. Before she could close the door, Richard approached. "Excuse me," he said gently, his voice low enough not to startle her. She turned, eyes wide with suspicion. A stranger approaching in a dark lot was the last thing she expected. "I saw you inside," Richard continued, lifting the grocery bag slightly. "You left this behind." He handed her the can of baby milk. The woman froze, her lips parting but no words coming out. Her eyes immediately glistened, and she shook her head quickly. I can't take that. I don't know you." Richard gave a soft smile, his tone kind but firm. "It's not charity. Think of it as one parent helping another. I've been where you are. Sometimes we all just need a hand." Tears welled up in her eyes, spilling over despite her attempt to blink them away. She looked down at her baby, then back at Richard, struggling to find the right words. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I work 2 jobs and it's still never enough. I wasn't sure how I'd get through this week." Richard's throat tightened. He could see the exhaustion in her face, the quiet strength she carried, and the love that made her sacrifice everything for her child. "I do understand," he said softly. "More than you think." There was a silence between them, heavy but meaningful. Then Richard reached into his pocket, pulling out a card with his name and number printed on it. "I don't usually do this, but here. If you ever need help finding something better, give me a call. I run a company, and we're always looking for people who are willing to work hard. Something tells me you'd be perfect." Her hand trembled as she accepted the card, her tears now flowing freely. "Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me." Richard looked at her baby, who had settled peacefully, as if sensing the shift in energy. He smiled softly. "Because once upon a time someone did the same for me. and it changed my life." For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. The mother held the baby milk to her chest, as if it were the most precious gift she had ever received. Richard didn't ask for thanks, didn't linger to make her uncomfortable. He simply gave her a nod, wished her well, and walked back toward his car. That night, as she drove home with tears still on her cheeks, the woman felt something she hadn't in a long time. Hope, not just because of the milk, but because someone had seen her, truly seen her, and believed she was worth helping. And Richard, sitting in his own car, realized something too. For all the wealth he had accumulated, all the success he had built, nothing compared to the feeling of making a difference in someone else's life. Sometimes the richest moments aren't about what you earn, but about what you give. It was a fleeting encounter in a grocery store parking lot, but it was enough to change two lives forever. Hers, because someone had reminded her that kindness still existed, and his, because he had rediscovered the purpose behind his fortune. That night, under the quiet glow of the streetlights, humanity had revealed itself in the simplest of ways. One mother's silent struggle, and one millionaire's choice to step in. And that choice, born out of compassion, would ripple farther than either of them could ever imagine.